All right, let's get into it. Said, welcome to Millenia, all you entities of all coils, be ye man, woman, child, be ye spirit, creature, demon, be ye native, migrator, or invader. Welcome to Millenia. I am your host, the Millennian Mailman, here today. And as always, I'll be world building for you long after you've begun to acclimate or fit in to this beautifully gorgeous realm of Millenia. Cut! Take 27. For real. Welcome. I am your host, the Millennian Mailman. And I'll be doing all of those things long after you've begun to fit in. So sit back, relax, and enjoy today's Theatrical Thursday, where I am always going to be extra, and I hope you read all about it on this fine Thursday. So let me dive right on into this week's hot take topic. Was that all of today's modern women, shall we say, are the furthest things from queens, period, point blank. All the modern day women of today's society are some of the furthest things from being queens, point blank. Alright? Because queens don't get to just remarry, because the marriage itself came with the title. In order to have that title, the marriage that made her queen is an obligation that can't just be kept on their back. They can't be a queen, because the title and status of queen comes from a relationship with a queen. So if you're not in a relationship, or you don't have a king, you're not a queen. It is very specifically intrinsic to that kind of relationship. And if you don't have that relationship, the title of queen is not applicable to you, right? So that is the topic and hot take of the week from your devil's advocate from the great beyond. And I'm just the mailman delivering the post, so don't shoot this messenger. All right, let's get into the reading for today. From the theatrical version. Real queens have and rely on their man, their kings. Only peasants, the commoners and whores, dare to share thoughts and opinions on the general standards of men openly. But all adults will hear you while taking your word for grains of salt as they be, because they, the adults, know which of those gossiping diseases you are. Be ye a peasant, a commoner, or a whore from the moment you opened your mouth. Family and friends, real friends, not the snakes and chameleons. Real family and friends recommend and advise you honestly, even when they know it will sting. Family and friends give honest opinions and recommendations when they advise you, even when they know it will sting, because they do want the best for you and would hate to leave you ignorant of a necessarily ugly, unavoidable truth. They would hate to leave you ignorant of the truth, no matter how ugly and unavoidable it is. Parents protect you and get held responsible for your life until you've decided on which path you're going to willingly follow through with going down when they're gone. Parents protect you and are held responsible for your life until you've decided which path you'd be willing to follow through with going down when they're gone. You're not your brother's keeper, but you are the first representative of peer pressure pushed opinions, both positively and negatively, that your sibling will internalize and acknowledge for rejection or acceptance when they're deciding their lives. Because the template of your life that you project will always passively be the first mirror of comparison that siblings will use to compare themselves with. Be it number one, who they are presently, what they did before in their past, and where they plan or are willing to make changes for going to in their future. Queens have an obligation to their family and kingdom to stay sanctified as a role modeling idol to strive towards, just like a sibling does to their sibling. Because when they don't stay sanctified, they're no longer even viewed as queens. They can have the title of queen, but they aren't viewed as a queen. They end up being usurped or forsaken, getting disgraced. And if not any of those three, they're just fall into the realm of the forgotten, becoming unknown or known in infamy. Queen Elizabeth was a queen, and she'll always be remembered as such. Queen Elizabeth was a true queen. Here's the time where I expound on all of that. Here in today's rhetoric, we went through the theatrical appearances of talking about peasants, commoners, and whores of the like, and what they dare do. Those three categories, their opinions and thoughts are generally taken for a grain of salt. And any adult, any mature person is going to not silence them necessarily. They'll listen, but they'll also warn against other people, their own children, or people who don't quite understand, aren't cognitively aware yet. They will warn other people from listening to you, your opinion, when you choose to talk like a peasant, like a commoner, or like one of the workers in the brothel. So adults generally will shun the nature, shun the behavior. At least the mature ones will. So it's not something you want to do. When you have this mentality, this mindset of calling yourself a queen, you have to hold yourself to that particular status, that standard of the actual queens. You can't just mislabel it and change it to be any and whatever you want without any consequence, because the consequence is that people who know the actual standard of the queenship, the nobility, that identity, are going to have the rule book, and they'll use that rule book as a template, like, okay, this is what a queen looks like. Looks nothing like you, and if it looks nothing like you are either a commoner, a peasant, or one of those people working in a brothel. You are the second option. You are a peasant, right? And that's never something you want to be, not especially when you try to get in this mentality of being your own boss, progressing yourself and developing yourself to be a better person, trying to be better for yourself before you seek out relationships, right? That's not the mentality. When you have that good mentality of being better and setting goals and standards and self-actualization, you don't want to have that reputation of negativity when you're trying to positively do everything you possibly can. So here I am, your Millennian mailman, trying to shed the light on why that might be happening to you, right? I'm not saying it, the devil's advocate is. I'm just the one repeating it so you get to hear him right? It's not my opinion, it's the devil's. It's not mine. I'm just the one that can articulate it. So that's all that is to say. And the second aspect is talking about the family, friends, and your brother's keeper, and the standard that you actually have. So the family and friends, they're if they are real family and real friends, they want the best for you. And if they want the best for you, they will tell you the truth. They'll tell you all the things I'm telling you now. That hard truth, that hard pill to swallow. They will tell it to you, they'll offer it to you. Whether you choose to take that advice and listen and heed their warnings, that's still up to you. But ultimately, if they are real friends and they are real family, they're not going to try and hide it from you. They're not going to coddle you indefinitely. They're going to eventually tell you the truth, because you need the truth in order to act on the truth. You need to, at some point, have the truth in order to act on it. So, yeah. And then going to the parent aspect there, parents themselves protect you and are responsible for you. Parents protect you from certain things. So parents are the ones to generally hide certain truths from you. They'll do it, and sometimes they'll tell you the truth a bit too early, or they'll tell you the truth a bit too late. But ultimately, it's up to them to protect you from certain things, as well as expose you directly to certain things in a timely manner that's best for you. And with that, they are ultimately held responsible for your life and how you turn up to a certain degree, to a certain point. Every parent is responsible for their child. Be you the alleged queen or short king like myself. Be ye be ye queen or king. Your parent is responsible for you. They acknowledge it to a certain degree, but they are only responsible for you in this day and age legally up to the point where you decided what you do with your life. The moment you decide what you are going to do with your life, where you say they no longer get to have say in this and that part of your life, if you effectively emancipate yourself from them, you cut them off, they are no longer responsible for any decisions or consequences you have to face in your life from that point on. It is up to you after you've decided on what you're going to do. They are no longer responsible for you. So if you want to play queen, play king, and cut them off or cut them out, they are no longer responsible for you. Some people, and a lot of people, at least nowadays, that from what they're articulating, they're in a point in their lives where it's time to cut people off, cut people loose, because it is nothing but parasitic and cancerous to them. In order to be better, they have to cut off and let go of a lot of people and a lot of things, and that very much can be a good thing. But parents, for one, once you've decided on who you are, who you want to be, and are what you're willing and not willing to do for the future that you want, your parents are no longer responsible for your actions. You are, right? Because one way or another, if they cut you off too early, that's their fault, and it's entirely them. If you cut them off, that is a sign that you have taken the full autonomy. You have taken full autonomy back over your life, and your parents are no longer have any obligation of responsibility for who you are or what you turned out or anything going on in your life anymore, because it's the consequences you have effectively acknowledged that you will be responsible for. So, friends and family won't hide or keep the truth from you if they actually care about you. They'll be honest and open about the things they recommend and they advise from the deepest parts of their hearts. Parents, they are responsible for you up until you decide to be responsible for yourself. And parents will always protect you and are responsible for that protection up until you decide to be responsible for yourself. And then that last little bit here, you, as the Bible says, are not your brother's keeper. You aren't. But something, despite you not being your brother's keeper, you are the first aspect of peer pressure that gets put on them, whether you think so or not. Because your parents, they're a generation ahead of you. Any generation of nieces and nephews or cousins, sometimes they're a generation behind you. But your sibling, that is always, be it a same-sex sibling or a different sex sibling, like a brother and sister, a brother, a sister and sister. Your sibling is always going to be a margin of error and a reflective mirror that the sibling is going to put to themselves. Your sibling is going to see you, how you operate, and say, hey, my big sister is this, or my little sister is this. Especially big older siblings, right? My big sister, my sibling, sibling, they did this in their past, and they're doing this right? I don't ever want to end up like my sister or my older brother. So I'm not going to make the choices they made. So I'm not going to do any of the things they did in their past. Or I'm where I'm at right now because of the things that happened and things going on. Okay, where's my sibling in their life? Okay, I do like that. I will always have their lifestyle in my mind going forward because I like where they're at. But I'll still hear out other people in my classroom, other people here, other people there. I'm still going to take their word, sometimes for a grain of salt, but I'm going to take your opinion first because you are the effectively closest people to me. You are of my blood, of the same parents and whatnot. My sibling. You're not your brother's keeper, but you and the image you project is something. The first peer pressure that gets pushed passively into the life of your sibling. And then the one of the future is what my sibling, my older sibling, how they're living right now. Is that the future I want to pursue? Yes, it is, or no, it isn't. That's that first layer as a sibling. You are your sibling's first layer of reflection and a peer pressure aspect. Be it tragic or absolutely lovely, it is the unfortunate truth. And then the last piece here, with all these aspects, parent, sibling, family and friends. Parent, sibling, family and friends. Title as a queen? Yes, they do, because queens have that obligation to their families, be it the one they had prior to their turning into a queen and the one they have as a queen. Because even in this relationship and development between king and queen, in the arranged marriage aspect, The queen is the family representation that connects the king to her overarching family that she had prior to her nobility. And even in the unarranged marriage aspect where they chose one another, the queen still has her progeny, her offspring, as well as her connected family that she has to stay proper, prim, sanctified for, that she has to represent in addition to representing for her king, that she's holding herself accountable to and acting with and in tandem to. The queen has the obligation to her family and kingdom to stay sanctified as that role modeling figure idol that others should and want to strive towards, much like the sibling aspect. Because their status as a queen, when they choose to not be sanctified in their role modeling, their status as a queen is diminished, because their status as a queen ends up being usurped, conquered, forsaken, disgraced, and sullied, because that standard of this is what a queen is, and you do or don't look like it. And if you're not looking like a queen, you're looking like one of these people with an opinion that no one actually cares to listen to. They'll hear you, but they're not listening to you. Because when you're not the queen, that person, that figure of authority, status, when you're not abiding by the guidelines and the constraints that everyone else has acknowledged to be the standard for a queen, you're just a lip service that's not going to have the acknowledgement you want, because you're doing things that get you the outcome that's entirely different from the image associated with the title you are trying to tack on to yourself. Queens have that obligation to their family and kingdom to stay sanctified as the role modeling idol, the figure they are. Because when they don't get even viewed as a queen. But that's Theatrical Thursday, and that's why, again, I didn't say it, the devil's advocate said it. When they don't, that's why women nowadays, in this modern dating generation, this era, are the furthest thing from queens there is, period. They are the furthest things from queens, because queens don't get to just remarry, unfortunately. Queens themselves, in all honesty, are held back and held down by the obligation that marriage itself had to offer. So, this modern generation is unfortunately the furthest thing from queens. But hey, that's just me, your Millenia mailman here today. Hope you enjoyed the intel and the post I had to share with you from the hot take opinions of the devil's advocate from the great beyond. But hey, that is, again, just me. Leave a like if you enjoyed what I had to say. Comment down in the comment section down below your thoughts, opinions. And by all means, share if you care to further progress this conversation. I want to see it expounded upon. And by all means, only subscribe if you actually want to push me to finishing my book, because I will be posting every day until I finish writing and ultimately publishing. And click that bell button if you, for some odd reason, care to not miss a single one of my wacky videos on Wacky Wednesday, Hot Take Hump Day, or today, Theatrical Thursday, by all means, good day.